right, welcome back everybody. In the last video, we finished the Explore view. It's looking great. And in this video, we're gonna get started on the Chats view. The Chats view is gonna be an array of chats that the current user has with different AI avatars. So each chat is going to be a chat data model, which we haven't built yet. So first we're gonna build the data models, and then in the next video, we'll build out this screen. Before we do that though, I'm having a couple problems with the SwiftLint script. I think it is running in our SwiftUI previews and it's causing these weird crashes in my Xcode. So I asked ChatGPT quick, I said, can you disable SwiftLint for SwiftUI previews? And it gave me back this updated script, which is great because I had no idea how to do this. So the first thing we're gonna do is actually just update the script for SwiftLint to this new script. Just adds an extra if statement for if it is the SwiftUI previews, then we will ignore and not run SwiftLint. I will paste that script below so you guys can just copy and paste. All right, so let's go ahead and build our chat model. Before we do though, I'm gonna show you guys just a sample of what our database is gonna look like. We're gonna set up the database later in this course. This is the Firebase database. As I mentioned earlier, we're gonna build our app to be dependency agnostic. So we're not going to couple the app to Firebase, although we are going to use Firebase. But in our database here, we're going to have a node for all of the chats in the app. And you'll notice that it is one chats collection for all users in our app. So when we actually make a chat document, which you can see here, we're going to include which user this chat is for, so the current user ID. We're also going to include the avatar ID, so a reference to the avatar that the user is chatting with. Then separately, we will store the avatars in a separate collection and the users in a separate collection. So chat is really just basically linking which user it's going to be and which avatar it's going to be. We're going to add in some metadata as well. In addition to having the document that holds the chat, each chat is going to have an array of messages. So when you actually start typing and talking to the AI, there's going to be a sub-collection of messages, which actually are very similar. They're going to have an author ID, so whoever wrote the message, that is basically either you or the AI. Each message is going to be connected to the parent chat. So that document we just looked at, we can see here 09BE is the same as the chat ID here, 09BE. And then the chat message will have its own unique identifier that we can use. And then when we get to actually building out the chat screen, we're going to add some content. So the message will have some content. This one I said yo, and then there will be some metadata on which users have seen this chat. And we'll use this metadata to determine whether or not it's going to be new for the current user. So in this video, real quick, we're going to build out the data model for the chat messages, as well as the data model for the chats, even though we haven't actually built the chat screen yet. Let's go ahead and do that quick. Let's jump into our services section. So just like we did with the avatar, we're going to create another folder in our services section. And we're going to call this chat. So any service relating to chats, fetching chats, getting chats, creating chats will be within this folder. We're also going to put all of our data models, create a folder for models. So any data model that is related to those chats, we're going to put in this folder. Let's create a new empty file. It's going to be a Swift file, and let's call this one chat model. And just to remind you guys, just like we did with the avatar model, we created a struct and we made it an immutable struct, so everything was a let constant. We're going to do the exact same for our chats. Let's import the foundation framework and let's create a struct called chat model. I will note that I specifically include the word model at the end of these because it reminds me and it reminds other developers that these actually are data models. There are a lot of teams that would just call this a chat and be done with it because it's simple, it's shorter, but for education purposes, for the tutorial, I'm calling it chat model. And I also do this in my own apps because it just reminds me that this is the data model layer of the app. But if you don't want to, you don't have to, you can remove the word model. Let's go ahead and add an ID for this will be the chat ID and it will be of type string. We'll add a user ID of type string. So this will be the user that created the chat. And then we'll add an avatar ID of type string. And this will be the avatar that the user is chatting with. We'll add some metadata. We'll say date created of type date. And this will be when we created the chat for the first time, as well as date modified of type date. And this will be every time we add a new message, we'll update the date modified. This way we can sort the chats on our screen by most recent. So the ones that the user has recently interacted with will be at the top of our screen. Let's go ahead and make an initializer for this. We'll click enter here. And while we're in here, let's make some mock data. So just like we did with the avatar model, we created an array of mocks and then a mock. I'm gonna do the exact same thing here. Let's do a static var mocks of type array of chat model. Open the brackets. And then let's do a static var mock of type chat model. And the mock is going to reference the mocks at the 0 index. I'm going to copy this chat model quick. And I'm going to open up ChatGPT. I'm going to paste in the chat model. I will hold shift and click enter a couple times to move down. And I'm just going to ask ChatGPT, create the mocks array with 4 chat models. And let's click enter. And hopefully it will be able to just build this for us rather than us having to go through and type. And it looks like it's creating all of these. All right, and let's look at what ChatGPT returned here. We have our mocks array with different IDs, different user IDs, different avatar IDs. That actually all looks good. And then for the dates, let's see, the first one was created now. The second one was created now minus 3,600, I think that's seconds, and then 7,200 seconds. This is good. It's actually helpful that ChatGPT changed the date for each of these. However, I don't like that this is not readable. As a human, I don't really know what this means. Let's ask ChatGPT if it could clean this up a little bit. Let's say, create an extension so that I can call now.adding time interval. And let's add fake parameters here. So there's no parameters in this method here, but maybe we add days, and let's add hours, and let's add minutes. And then let's also say, then use this extension in the mocks. Let's see if it knows how to do this. So it creates an extension of date with days, hours, minutes, just like I asked. And then in our mock, it says adding, so negative 1 hours, -2 hours, -1 days. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and copy this code. Let's jump back into our project and let's paste it in. Duplicate foundation here. So I like this a lot. Look at this. This is so much more readable. And we didn't really have to even think about it. ChatGPT created these mocks for us and they look like they're going to work perfectly. I'm just going to change the ID of these just because one is not very explanatory. If I see some metadata later and I just see ID of 1, I might get confused about what it actually is. Let's just call this mock chat 1. And then I'm just going to copy that. This will be 2, 3. This will be 3, and this will be 4. We might change these IDs later, but right now I'm not really worried about it. Cool. This is looking good. Let's scroll up here. We have our extension of date now. And I like that ChatGPT actually gave us the default parameters of 0. So this way we don't need to add all the parameters each time. And let's take our extension and put it into our extensions folder. So I'm going to come up here and then let's create in our extensions folder, right click a new file, new empty file. Let's call this date plus ext for date extensions. And let's just cut this and then paste it in here. And we will import foundation at the top. That looks great. I'll leave this up here for 1 second so you guys can copy it. If you're not using ChatGPT, you'll have to type this out yourself. This is just fake mock data. It does not matter if you have the exact same data as me or not. It just matters that each of these IDs are unique and you don't have the same ID across all 4 data models. Let's go ahead and build out the chat messages as well. It's going to be almost the exact same thing. So let's right click on the models folder here Let's create a new empty file, and we'll call this chat message model. Let's import the foundation framework. Let's create a struct called the chat message model, open the brackets. Every chat message will have an ID as well of type string. It will also have a chat ID. This will be the parent chat ID that will link to the chat model. This will be of type string. And then let's give it an author ID. So whoever wrote the message, and we'll make this an optional string just in case there is no author for whatever reason. Maybe we go ahead and we make admin messages in the chat or something like that, and there is no author in the future. As we looked at the database quick, we saw that there's this chat data model with content and role. We're not going to worry about that right now, so we're just going to create just the content for now, and we'll refactor it later. And then seen by IDs, you can see that here this has the number 0 because this is an array of strings. So the reason we're going to make this an array is that if in theory you were building a chat app with maybe a group of users, so it's not just you and an avatar, but maybe there's 4 people in a chat. Well, you're going to want to make this an array so that each person has a unique ability to have their message be new to them. Because if you only had is seen as a Boolean, you could only ever scale that up to 1 person per chat. So we'll make that an array. Let's go back into our data model here. We'll say let content of type string. We'll make it optional, and we'll say let seen by IDs, which is an array of string, which I'll also make optional. Lastly, let's do date created of type date. Make that optional as well. And I'm not going to do date modified because chat messages, once you send a message in the chat, you're not going to edit it. There is no modifying it. So we'll just keep date created. Let's create our initializer here. I'm going to triple click and then Control M, multiple lines. And then let's just update the initializer to have some default values of nil because we clearly don't need them all the time. Lastly, same as the chat model, let's just copy our mocks and go into our chat message model. And this will be the chat message model. This will be the chat message model. And then we're going to cut this and then copy this data model. Let's go back into ChatGPT and say, create mocks for this in the same pattern. Let's click enter. And then hopefully it gives us the same mocks and it still uses our extension that we created above. This looks pretty good. I'm going to copy this code. Let's go back into here and let's paste it. I don't need all the code. I'm just going to take our mocks array, which is this. Let's delete the duplicate and then just paste in our mocks array here. Not a big fan that they put these on separate lines because it takes up so much room in my code, but it is easier to read, so I'll let it slide for now. Again, I don't really care what the IDs are here because this is just mock data. As long as they're unique, it should work in our app, and we can always come in here and edit this later. So if you're not using ChatGPT, go ahead and just like copy this, or you could even use UUIDs if you want, and just create literally totally random strings. It does not matter. This was a quick video, so let's just wrap it up. Let's jump into the chats screen. So we created way back when we created our chats view. This is going to be the second tab on our screen. Let's go to the chats view quick, get the preview working. And at the top, we're going to load up an array of chats. So at state private var, we'll call this chats, an array of chat model. We'll set it equal to chatmodel.mocks for now. We're going to change all of these when we start loading up our actual data. As we can see in the screen here, anytime you see this UI where it's basically like there's some padding here, there's this white background, you can probably guess that that's the list format. So let's go ahead and make a list, open the brackets, and we'll do a for each. And then for each chat, let's put chat.id on the screen. We cannot loop on chats because it is not identifiable or hashable. Let's jump into the chat model. Since these have IDs, let's just make this identifiable. And it looks like SwiftLint is actually yelling at us in here. Unneeded synthesized initializer violation. This member-wise initializer would be synthesized automatically. You don't need to define it. So I guess because we didn't add any default values in here, and we didn't do any customization in this init, Swift-lint is actually telling us that we can just use the implied initializer. So let's go ahead and just do that for now, I guess. We'll just delete this. We can always add it back later if we need it. Generally, I like to listen to Swift-lint when we can. Let's just get rid of any other warnings that Swift-lint is yelling at us for. Let's jump back to our chats view. So Option Shift O, chats view. Let's run the preview real quick. I think that is it for this video. Cool. In the next video, we're going to build out these cells, and we're going to do it in a very unique and custom way. I am purposely going to load these cells differently than we loaded these cells, and I'll talk about that in the next video. Let's wrap up this video with Option Command C. Let's call this a feature, and we'll say chat model as well as chat message model. Stage all, commit, push it up to GitHub, and I will see you guys in the next video.